Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping into one of the most incredible, most ambitious digital projects anywhere on the planet, India's massive identity system, Aadhaar. It really is a story about technology, sure, but it's also about a bold plan to give over 1 billion people a single trusted identity.
And this quote, it just nails the core problem they were trying to solve. You see, India was overflowing with different IDs, ration cards, voter IDs, you name it. But here's the thing. No single one was universally trusted, and that created a huge identity crisis right at the heart of the world's largest democracy.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, we'll dive into the chaos that existed before Aadhaar. Then, we'll look at the digital solution that was dreamed up. After that, we'll get into the really juicy stuff, its practical, real-world impact. We'll also tackle the big challenges and concerns, and finally, we'll peek into what the future might hold.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1. The identity crisis. To really get why Aadhaar was even created, you have to understand just how messy things were before it came along.
Just imagine this scene, because it played out all the time. A villager, who is absolutely entitled to his pension, gets turned away. Why? Because his only proof of who he is, a faded, torn-up ration card, just isn't considered good enough. And this wasn't some rare, one-off thing. This was the daily reality for millions of people who were practically invisible to the system. And it wasn't just about big government benefits. Think about something as simple as a student trying to get a SIM card. It could be a total nightmare. One ID has his name spelled wrong, another has an old address. All this conflicting information just created massive roadblocks for everyday stuff.
So, you can see, this wasn't just a personal frustration. It had these huge systemic consequences. On one hand, you had real people being denied the help they needed, and on the other, you had government money just vanishing into thin air, going to so-called ghost beneficiaries, identities that didn't even exist. This problem was costing the country billions. The system was broken, plain and simple.
So the big question is, how do you even begin to fix a problem on that scale? Well, as we'll see in this next section, India turned to a pretty bold technology-driven solution.
And that solution was Aadhaar. At its heart, it's actually pretty simple, a 12-digit unique number given to every single resident. The whole thing is run by the Unique Identification Authority of India, or UIDAI. But the real genius was tying that number to something that's incredibly hard to fake, your biometrics, your fingerprints and your iris scans. Just 12 digits. That was the idea. To cut through all the clutter of dozens of different, unreliable paper documents and create one single source of truth for who you are. Simple, powerful, and totally unique to you. What's so cool here is how these goals directly attack all those problems we just talked about. The entire project was designed from the ground up to plug those leaks, to fight corruption, to speed things up, and maybe most importantly, to give every single Indian an identity that couldn't be denied. We're talking about digital inclusion on a scale the world had never seen before.
Okay, so that brings us right to the core of our story today, the practical impact. It was a huge, ambitious plan, but did it actually work? How did it change daily life for millions of people on the ground?
We're going to look at 3 main areas where the impact was just massive. First, cutting out those corrupt middlemen. Second, bringing millions of people into the banking system. And third, making essential services way, way faster.
First up, direct benefit transfer, or DBT. This was a total game changer. See, before, a government subsidy might pass through 5 or 6 different hands, and at every step, someone would take a little cut. Now, with Aadhaar linking your identity directly to your bank account, the money goes straight from the government to you. No middlemen, no leaks. It's estimated this saved the government billions of dollars just by getting rid of all those ghost beneficiaries. And that, of course, leads right into the next huge impact, financial inclusion. I mean, you can't get direct transfers if you don't have a bank account, right? So Aadhaar was paired with this huge government initiative called the Jan Dhan Yojana. It allowed tens of millions of people to open their very first bank account, often with no minimum balance required, using nothing but their Aadhaar number.
And hey, remember that student struggling to get a SIM card? Well, that problem was basically solved by something called eKYC, Electronic Know Your Customer. Instead of digging through a pile of paper documents, a simple fingerprint scan could now instantly prove you are who you say you are. This made getting a SIM card, filing your taxes, or applying for a passport unbelievably faster.
And the sheer scale of this rollout, it is just staggering. Over 1.3 billion people are now part of the Aadhaar system. That makes it, by a long shot, the largest biometric identity database anywhere on Earth.
But, of course, a system this big and this powerful doesn't come without some major challenges. So let's move on and talk about the very real, very legitimate concerns people have about privacy and security.
This really lays out the two sides of the coin pretty clearly. On one hand, you have these incredible wins, millions of people brought into the formal economy, and a massive drop in corruption. But on the other hand, you have these persistent fears about government surveillance, stories about people being denied food rations because of a fingerprint error, and of course the constant, massive challenge of keeping all that data secure.
All this debate eventually went all the way to the Supreme Court of India, which came out with this really important ruling. Basically, the court said, yes, Aadhaar is valid for things like welfare schemes and taxes. But, and this is a huge but, it cannot be mandatory for everything, like getting a SIM card or opening a bank account. It was a really critical moment for balancing the power of the system with the rights of the individual.
So where does this all go from here? In our final section, let's look at the future, because Aadhaar is quickly evolving from just an ID number into something much, much bigger. We're talking about a full-on digital platform.
The grand vision is for Aadhaar to become the basic layer for a complete digital life for every citizen. Just think about it. Your one identity, seamlessly linked to your health records, your educational degrees, your property documents, all of it. The ultimate goal, you could say, is one nation, one digital identity.
But as this future starts to take shape, the conversation itself is changing. We're starting to realize that Aadhaar isn't just a piece of technology. It's really about trust. It's about empowering the most vulnerable people in society. And it's about the absolutely immense responsibility of protecting the private data of over 1 billion people.
And that really leaves us with this final, crucial question. The technology is here, the platform is being built. But as we move forward, the real test is going to be this. Can we protect that powerful digital identity with the dignity and privacy that every single citizen deserves? That's the challenge that's going to define the next chapter in this incredible story of 1 billion identities.